I was very, very lucky because for many years I had an enormous, lots of fans watching me. It was back in the days when there were two channels, so you had to be good. I mean, there was nobody else to turn around to, and families would sit down. On one day of the week, David Attenborough was on, and on the other day of the week, David Bellamy was on. And we had our own way of talking to people, and one helped educating for doing the right thing. I had a wonderful crew. In fact, my director really should have made the series. He's just as great a natural historian, certainly knew his birds and things much better. But I had taught biogeography at the university for quite a long time, so most of it was in my head. And we didn't actually work to a script, you see. And if you do it that way, it's much quicker filming because you haven't got to have lots of people trying to find the place. So, I had a great team, a wonderful botanist on that team, and a wonderful director. And every night, as we'd finished for the day, I'd have to write the book Noah's Ark to keep up. I would love now to make a film to say we've just refound New Zealand as it was at that time, and what would we do with it? Would we make the same mistakes, or would we be clever enough to allow sustainable development of certain things so that people could have a life with all the trappings that we actually need, not the greed, but the need. I came out to really help make a film about how to save the anarki, and it got a bit sort of heated up. I was whipped round by the loggers in inverted commas, and shown the place from the air and told there had been sustainable logging in the 1930s, and because that had stopped, everyone had lost their jobs. The reason they'd lost their jobs, they stopped using saws like that and had chainsaws. So the chainsaw massacre could be very, very rapid. And I said, but this stuff has been going here for millions of years. We don't even know a tenth, probably 100th, probably 1,000th of the biota, the living things in here. So why don't you give it a chance and let it grow on? And a group of local people turned around and they said, they opened the door, and the press actually were there and said, we agree with David Bellamy. It wasn't just me, it was agreeing with common sense of real good scientists talking. And we want to see logging stopped. And that was an amazing, amazing day. And now I sit here and I've been told by Doc that there are 4,500 little groups doing the right thing, stitching their bit of the world back into. Now that is phenomenal. And we had a lot of those people from both sides, the loggers and the conservationists, here talking to each other and saying, well, then of course the argument goes on, why don't we? Why can't we take that big podocarp? Because it's hollow. Well, you say, what about all the creepy crawlies? You can't make a living out of creepy crawlies, but you can't make a forest work if you don't have all those things. And just recently in this area, I think it is 17 new species of spider have been found. Who cares about spider? But without the spider, so if we took the wrong spider out of the thing, we might collapse the whole thing. So, it's that knowledge, and it comes back to touching natural history and understanding it. And we've got to get more and more kids, and I've been to 2 schools here already, and the kids are doing things looking after kiwis, and all I've been able to say to them, I'm not going to do it loudly as I did there, but wow! Well, most of them, or many of them are moving wallpaper. And it's very, very nice. Steve Irwin was, to me, one of the best in the world because he knew what he was talking about and he was a very brave guy and we lost him. But there were a lot of people saying, I'm going to live out in the sticks and eating things which you probably could live on for 2 days, but not for very, very long. And of course, there's such a spread, and now I'm finding my grandchildren not watching television, but watching YouTube. And somebody, how bad can that be? But I mean, some of the stuff coming out on YouTube is extremely good and is well thought and touches history. Global warming, man-made, doesn't actually happen. It is climate change. We are just going into the 24th cycle of the sun's way it heats up the earth. And there have been no sunspots yet for 2 years. The last time that happened, we went into a mini ice age. It's damn cold out there today. There were blizzards down in the south and yesterday, and you've had some of the best skiing season, the earliest season. So I said the science to me actually says that it is natural climate change, and CO2 can have such a small effect that if we start spending billions and billions, trillions they're talking about, and trying to stop a problem which doesn't actually happen, we're in for real bad times. Well, I'd never shaved, you see. I do trim it, but I never shaved. And I was out, and in Mozart, we made a whole thing about old man's beard, and I ended up being corked it and zooming up into the canopy. And then Doc said, would I do this? And it must be my most famous advert because everyone still talks about it. Old man's beard must go.